All right, guys, I'm going to go over just some brief personnel injury updates. Some of this may carry over and be the same from February. Can you guys hear me okay? I'll get good. Out for spring, Rico, Malik Dunlap, Xavier White, and Xavier Martin. All of those are post-op surgeries. Limited this spring, Dawson Deaton, J.J. Sparkman, and Nelson and Banasaur. Nelson and J.J., I see them progressing as spring goes, and into next week, the week after, be able to open it up and a little bit more contact for them. And then I think since we've talked last, medically just DQ'd that are not in just medical scholarship now, Troy Bradshaw, DeMarcus Marshall, both of them. So that's, I think, since we talked last. And that's it. Okay, let's talk about today. And man, it's good to be back out on the field and in the practice field. A really good off season and really good work from our guys. We made some strength gains. Some guys really changed their bodies. The off season was big for us. I think it's where you learn and teach discipline, accountability. It was quiet for us, which was good. Very low drama, good, and just gaining weight, changing guys' bodies. Had 11 newcomers in terms of scholarship players here, 7 transfers and the 4 high school guys. And so, 10 of those 11 practiced today, with Malik Dunlap only being the one that was out, and he'll be out all spring. He'll be full go in June when we come back in the summer. But as expected, good energy, high energy, competitive. Really, to be honest with you, and you guys know I'm going to be very transparent, a lot better than day one of last year. And I just compare years. And, last year we only got 4 practices in, but that was much better. Lined up, alignment, communication, and we're installing a new offense. And so I'm glad to where the offense started today. Early predictions or early evaluations, going to hold off on those really into next week. Really towards the end of next week, I think we get a good idea when the shoulder pads go on. Helmets today, helmets tomorrow. So all of the questions that you're going to ask me about the O-line and the D-line, it's not real football, to be honest with y'all. Y'all know that. But I got a little, a good evaluation just on day one, not seeing the tape yet of our skill guys, our quarterbacks, and our DBs. And we're further ahead than last year just in terms of that stuff that I really believe makes a program in terms of the discipline, accountability in the offseason, and then the way we practice, the standard of how we practice and how we play. And I thought was really, really good. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up and let you guys ask some questions.
We'll start with Garrett.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, you mentioned the newcomers. It's one thing to see it on paper, but to see some of these guys in person in terms of the noticeable size difference. I mean, a lot of these guys are a head taller than their teammates. Bradley, Tharp, Castles, Rashad Williams, and then even Waters in terms of just his bulk, his size. I mean, they kind of stand out. Was that a concerted effort to get bigger, or coincidence, and how does that help the team?
Yeah, Jared, I like the length. I think length combined with athleticism and speed and all those guys makes for a better football player. My job is, I said this to our players last week, Jarrett, my job as a head coach and our job as coaches is to bring competitive depth into every meeting room, and we're going to attempt to do that in every meeting room. It's a coach's job to recruit, to teach, and to demand, the things out of them that we want in terms of how they play. Players' job is to play and perform. And so we're going to continue to bring competitive depth in here. And I'm glad you noticed. These guys are going to be added to the mix and be thrown in the fire to see where they're at. You can just see a guy like Marquise Waters and some maturity. The game is a little slower to him than it is to some other guys. he is going to be an immediate contributor in the secondary, and that's exactly why he was brought in. Rashad is long. You're right. I mean, he's a legit 6'2" corner, and he's got length. Malik, when he gets out here, will be long too. I mean, Malik's taller than Rashad. He's every bit of 6'3". I don't know if we're going to list him at 4, but if we do, we're probably lying. So he's a legit 6'3". That's pretty tall. But and then you look out. You mentioned the 3 guys on offense, and they're all young puppies. Jed Castles, Mason Tharp, 6'6" and 6'8" tight ends. Jerron Bradley, every bit of 6'6" at outside receiver. You do see that. They're tall, but they can play the game. Those are 3 freshmen that are going to be interesting to see where it all shakes out as we go through in spring, but I think they'll all be in the mix to play.
Go to Sam.
Hold on, he's got a follow-up. I can see him talking. Yeah, Matt muted you. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Jarrett.
Go ahead, Jarrett.
I know you can only share so much, but are you still looking to add to the roster? And if you can share, like, what positions are you looking at, and about how many scholarships do you think you'll have to work with?
Yeah, we got a handful left, Jarrett, and I'm going to try to take another DB or 2, probably a linebacker that will be focused more as a younger player, freshman or sophomore, just because I think we're old at linebacker right now. You guys know that, especially with our seniors coming back. And then potentially, an O-line, D-line, those are hard guys to turn around. So we'll see as the spring shakes out. Could even be another outside receiver. Best available will come up, and we'll do a good job of evaluating these guys and really trying to find guys again. And I said this, that have the right culture. They've been trained the right way. They got the right hearts. They're football junkies, and they're going to come and add to our locker room. Just like every transfer, I can honestly say that every transfer that we've signed since we've been here has come and added to this locker room in terms of the culture, the weight room, nutrition. They're just football junkies, and we got to continue to do that. And our guys that have been here in this program have been trained that way, and I've been so proud of the guys that have changed habits, and that is hard. And I think we're starting to see some of the fruits of that labor in terms of those guys, and I'm excited. DeMarcus Fields may be the biggest one. That's one of the biggest testaments, and just the way he lives his life and the accountability and the discipline and the stuff that he's done in the weight room. I'm so proud of that young man, and he's come back and wants to be coached by Derek Jones again, Dave Scholes again, and improve his individual draft grade and do it in a team environment. 23 is going to have a big year. I can't wait to watch that guy play.
Go to Sam.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned the offensive transition. When it comes to install terminology, tempo, how tangibly different is what you guys are doing right now as to what you guys were doing last season?
Sam, significant in terms of the verbiage and the signals, completely different, everything. So there's obviously some concepts, and conceptually there's some carryover just because we did have versions of the air raid, and Sonny certainly has versions of the air raid. That's what he's been trained in and played in and coached in. This is not air raid A to Z 100% though. I mean, we're going to tailor this offense to what's best for Texas Tech. I think as we go through spring, we'll start to fine-tune it and tailor it to things that we do well and things that our players do well. That's the essence of coaching. We need to do that. That's our job as coaches to do that. We need to do a better job of that offensively. And I've said that. I've been vocal about that. And Sonny will do a great job of, I really think blend into what our strengths are and really fine-tuning that through the summer and into training camp.
And just been in the last few months watching him work with the guys and develop these guys, what have been your impressions on Sonny?
Really good. Sonny's a pro. He's got energy. It's fun to be around. This guy, as an alumni, he is Texas Tech through and through, Mr. Red Raider. And, we had a referee out here today that is a local guy that comes out quite a bit. And we started talking, and I said, I bet you know Sonny from when he coached here before. And he just kind of looked at me, and he's like, Matt, I've refereed when Sonny Cumbie's played. So, it's good to have him around. I think our quarterback's technique, fundamentals, are going to be at a really good level. He really coaches the heck out of those fundamentals, and he's got energy about him, and I think our guys feed off of that.
Go to Ben.
Hey, Matt, I wanted to ask about the two recent additions you made to the recruiting staff, Aaron Hodges and Ashton Washington. Did you know about either of them kind of going in? And then, what did you like about both of them to add them to the staff?
Yeah, they're two great additions. Ashton, has Texas roots and really brings a unique perspective in terms of the graphics and the media side of things that, that this recruiting world is evolving to. She's, really is going to be a really great addition to our team. Aaron Hodges spent a couple years at Ohio State under Coach Meyer, a couple years at Purdue. Coach Tomerdahl worked with him. That's where the initial recommendation came from. But guys I talked to at Ohio State and Purdue and that have been around him, he's high energy. He does a great job with I think, relating to recruits, of engaging recruits. Another guy that has a background in some of the multimedia creative content stuff, and that's where he and Ashton will work hand in hand to really try to move us in a different direction. But really happy to have both of those guys, guy and girl, Aaron and Ashton, as part of our family and part of our team.
Go to Eric Kelly.
You talked about some of the things that you like that you got accomplished in the off season. Now, what are those next step forward you want to see, just at least exclusively in the spring area?
Yeah, Eric, my number one goal is to set the standard of how we play at Texas Tech. Not just how we practice, but how we play the game. How we define it defensively through effort, how we define it fast and physical on offense. And those are standards that are held by the coordinators and the coaches. But they're really, ultimately, it has to be upheld by me and encouraged by me and praised. I think what you measure, you get results from. And so we'll measure the effort and the physicality and the ways that we do on video and in meetings. But really, it's how we play the game, how we do it together, how we do it as a team. And, I know we go against each other all spring, but ultimately as we wrap up spring, we come together as Red Raiders and we do it together. So it's the standard, how we set the standard, how we define it, how we inspire and encourage and discipline the guys. But what we won't do is lower that standard, and that's hard. And that's hard for these young men, and that's coaching hard. And so that's my biggest goal for us this spring.
Go to Don.
Matt, if you gave a off-season MVP or MVPs, maybe offense and defense for winter conditioning, work in the weight room, who would those go to?
Oh, several. I tend to lead a little bit more towards example and leadership. I mentioned DeMarcus Fields. I think he was great. Eric Monroe, and I would say really all the senior linebackers. Those linebackers led between Jacob and Rico, even though Rico was injured, and Schooler did a great job. I think Tony Bradford is one of the more vocal leaders in the program and always does a great job. Josh Berger had a really good offseason, and I think, is kind of pushing himself into a leadership role up there. Certainly Dawson is a great leader. I really see Sir Roderick and Easy taking those steps really for us, Don, in terms of a little bit more vocal leadership. It's funny to call them sophomores again. They're fourth-year players going on our third year with those guys, and but I thought they really did a nice job for Coach Scholes. You saw one of the body transformations, I think, over the weekend. I mean, Mason Tharp gained 19 pounds, same body fat, came in here and just did everything Dave Scholes told him to do. Really, really coachable. Barron is over 190 pounds. Those guys should be in yearbook class right now as a senior in high school, goofing around, and they're out here. They've been here for 2 months, maybe just short of almost 2 months, and just had their first college practice today. And those two guys made really good strides, as young freshmen.
And Zach McPherson's brother, tell us the story of how he came to y'all and what you see his future as.
Yeah, Ezekiel, his dad, Garrick McPherson, who I've known that family for quite a while. I know you guys know I coached Emmanuel way back in the day at New Mexico, and then was part of the reason, from the family connection that Zach ended up choosing Texas Tech. But Garrett called me one day, his dad, in off season, and Ezekiel played baseball for quite a while in the minor leagues, and just kind of ran out of time and ran out of that dream, and is coming here as a non-scholarship player, had in his contract that they could pay for school, and he wanted to put him in our program. And so would we give him a chance? And the answer is absolutely yes. And outside of the facial characteristics, because he does look almost exactly like Zach, he works hard, he cares. He's always around the complex, and so it'll be fun to watch his progress. Obviously, hadn't played football in a long time, so we'll see him as the spring progresses.
Go back to Jared.
Hey, Coach. I know it's early in spring, obviously, but with the offensive line, TJ Stormont, the grad transfer, is he getting work at left tackle? And I know you'll cross trade, but where is Berger going to play too? Yeah,
Berger played today. I saw him at right guard, and I saw him at center today. So I'm not sure if he got reps at right tackle or not. I saw TJ most of the time today at left tackle, but TJ will absolutely play right tackle because we do cross-train, as you know. So, Jarrett, with Dawson being limited this spring, obviously we need somebody to snap and practice, and so we're going to rotate that up, and Berger's going to be one of those guys, Clayton Franks, Weston Wright, maybe even at some point, down the line in later practices, maybe Caleb Rogers a little bit. But we're going to let all those guys have shots at snapping. This is really one of the tougher looks. They got a zero nose on them most of the spring, an active nose guard in a zero technique. Jalen Hutchins and Tony Bradford. You're calling the defense out. You're setting the blocking, the protections, the blocking combinations, and having to snap for the first time. It's tough. It's a tough assignment. And so, but we'll kind of rotate those centers around a little bit this spring.
Go back to Eric.
One quick non-football question. What was the process like in coming up with the decision on who you're going to root for in a little game?
I knew this was coming. There's no process, man. Guns up, baby. Red and black. That's easy. Obviously Utah State. That's my alma mater. Coached there for 8 years, so it's a special place. It always will be a special place to me in my family. And Craig Smith is a really good friend. That's a really good program. I was over at basketball practice today talking to Coach Beard for a minute, wishing those guys luck on the way out today. It'll be a good game. It'll be a tough game. That's a program that prides itself on how they play the game. They play tough. It's a great culture that Craig has implemented. They've been in the Mountain West Championship game 3 straight years, 2 championships the last 2 years. But I like the Red Raiders.